Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to the video. This one's going to be mainly the DCT related stuff. I've been doing a lot with the E36. I shouldn't say a lot. I've just been messing with the E36 way more than I've touched the wife's car at all. Just because I haven't wanted to mess with it at all because it's pretty scary. You know, all those tiny solder pads and I don't know, just messing something up I just didn't want to deal with. I didn't want it to happen because I get super discouraged. But at this point in time, we have so much money invested into it, I just got to get it done. So right now I have the DCT box open. I need to remove the factory plug out of here because I ended up turning around and purchasing the harness made by Works. I mean, it's stupid, clean looking, worth every dollar. And then I also have the TCM that needs to go back in. I also have the Works board in the TCM as well that they sell. It makes everything a lot easier. So that's why you don't have to, I guess, solder to each solenoid pad directly. But yeah, so this is this has to go into this bad boy, and I have to finish soldering that harness in to that to actually control the trans or whatever. I pinned out the plug for the HCG controller. I think I did it right. So we'll find out here shortly. But I'm gonna put this together, and then hopefully solder these pads in, button this trans back up, mount it into the car, or I pull the motor out, sorry, and then mount the trans onto the car. Because how do you focus this thing? I don't know how I turned off autofocus. But yeah, mount it into the car, or mount it to the engine. I gotta pull that out, mount it with the plate. I have a lot of stuff going on, you know what I'm saying? So that's my main focus right now. Alright, so I was cutting out the obsolete wires that aren't needed for the HCG controller. But while I was cutting them out, and I pulled the factory plug out, I already put the other one in now. But when you pull that plug out, there's a bunch of wires back there, right? And you're supposed to cut a bunch of them. And I cut it, and one of them was shorter than the rest of them. and I pulled it out of the hole, but when I cut it, it fell down into the hole. So now it's in the bottom or the side of the trans because it's translating on its side. So I had to pull the cover off of the trans to get the wire. Luckily, it's actually pretty easily to get to. So cover's off, piston a little oil, but you can see the wire right there. I almost was just like, screw it. When I lift up the trans, it'll go to the bottom of the pan, and I can just pull it out from there. Nah, I don't think that was going anywhere. But it should be pretty easy to grab now. Golden. Well, I got it out. Back to putting this trans together. Alright, so I noticed there's a little alignment arrow on the cover, so I'm going to pull it back out and see if it's supposed to go a certain way before I send it all the way in. Put another screw in this bad boy. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but there's an alignment arrow right there. On the back side, there's like a raised pin there. I see right there, there's like a catch there. So I'm gonna guess this bad boy faces up, pin goes on the right side, and we'll just send her on home again. Should be good. I'd say use a rubber mallet on this because it seems like the aluminum here seems super soft, so I don't know, using just a regular old hammer might hurt something. I don't know. Too late for me. Alright, so now that wire's out, the next steps here are to go ahead and, well, let's start with a little bit of backstory first, I guess. So when I originally purchased this, I purchased the HTG harness that they make. But it was going to take a lot more work, and I'm not a wiring expert or a motorsport harness expert or anything like that. And I did not, or soldering expert really. And I didn't want to do all that, so I turned around and bought the one from DomyWorks, sorry. So I had that purchased, but the board originally when I purchased it, it had resistors already on the board, but I already had, see, R1, R2, R4. So when I had my friend actually do the soldering for the board, I had him remove those resistors off of the board because it was already built into the HTG harness. So now that I have the DomyWorks harness, I have to turn around and put those tiny resistors back on, and I am absolutely no soldering expert, so I'm going to give it my best shot here, but that's what I'm getting ready to do. And then I'll start soldering each of the solenoid wires and sensor wires onto the board after I do those little resistors. So just to give you guys an idea of anybody else who wants to maybe interested in doing this swap, especially with the DomyWorks setup here, following their instructions, this is all the stuff that you basically get rid of and no longer need. Factory plug there, a bunch of wires, shielding. The only thing that really stays is like 3 wires, and everything else, you know, comes out. Alright, so I went ahead and skipped me doing the last portion of the soldering, just because there's no reason for me to record that. So now at this point, I'm just going to finish. I have it rigged up here, battery, power, actual controller, and then I'm uploading the valve tester. I think it just finished actually. So that's done. So I should be able to put power to the controller, and then it'll run the valve test on the trans, and then I have to test the open up the data logger and view the log and see what it looks like and send it over to the HCG guys, see what they think about it. Alright, so valve test is going, and you can look at the logger. I don't really know what it means anything just yet, but they have some instructions on what means what, but it looks like maybe one of the valves has an issue, if I was reading their instructions properly. So I'm gonna, I guess, send it over to them and see what they recommend to start with here, see what they say. Alright, so still stuck on the trans stuff. I ended up sending those logs over to the HCG guys. They basically said they don't like them. So they told me to try a few things. So first off, they want me to put a jumper between the two 12 volts to make sure there's nothing wrong with the actual wire. So I did that. Jumper's there. Set everything back up. I also changed the way the power wire I was getting it, just for testing purposes here. I did 2 circle crimps instead of just one big one, just in case something wasn't working properly or connecting properly. But log looks basically the same, so I'm gonna send it over there to them again, and then I don't know, I guess they'll tell me some of the things I should try. Alright, so my apologies, forgot to record me basically sealing everything back up, but HCG guys asked me to add a jumper to the board for the 212 volt to see if there was any sort of, I don't know, one of the 12 volt to, I guess there's 2 wires through 212 volt, right? And they both go one side, 3 solenoids, or I believe 3 or 4, whatever. There's split in half, solenoids for one side, solenoids for the other side, and each 12 volt wire feeds one side. So to make sure that there was no issue between the 2 wires, they had me put a jumper between the 2 to make sure that the 12 volts coming across was good and solid. But the log looks pretty similar. I sent over to them and they just said send it. So they said it should be fine, but we'll find out for sure I guess soon. But trans is all back together, plates back on, plug still up there, yada yada. So basically at this point I just need to pull the motor and attach this bad boy to it. So that's gonna be the end of this video. Next one we'll be pulling the motor, bolting the trans up, and hopefully sliding it right in. I don't know if there's gonna have to be any sort of clearancing that needs to be done in the trans tunnel. I don't think so, and if it does, it'll be super minimal. So yeah, I still have to fill this thing with oil and get some trans cooler lines made, or I'm gonna make them myself. I don't know, kind of lazy, so I might just pay for someone else to make them. But that's where I'm leaving off for now. Thanks guys. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm gonna continue to keep dropping videos because I gotta get this car done. My wife said I can't work on my own car or do any extra mods to my car until hers is done. So that's my main priority.